up, 418 Revolution? I am so glad to be back to another crazy, stupid, smart, where we look at things that are going on in culture right now and we see if they are crazy, stupid, or smart. And if you have never watched this show before, if this is your first time on the app, welcome. Glad you're here. Please share this with other people if you find this helpful. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is something special. I normally don't put this on YouTube. It's normally just on the app because we are creating a community there on the 418 Revolution app. So go download the app, 418 Revolution. Currently, it's on Apple, and soon it will be on Android. Also, you can also go to the website that's connected here and see it online. Also, we're helping you grow in your relationship with God. We are helping you know God more and be somebody who can impact culture because you know what you believe. Well, today we are looking at something that has been going around for a little bit. And I saw it on Instagram, and it is Kat Von D gets saved. Now, if you are like me, I did not know who Kat Von D was really. I guess the name kind of like out there in the ethernets, I kind of heard it somewhere. It wasn't like completely foreign, but I was like, oh, she's kind of a person, my wife was like, oh yeah, that's, the lady, she knew her from LA Tattoo or something like that, and was heavily into witchcraft and just dark gothic things. Got saved and blew up because the reaction in the Christian community was not what you would expect for somebody who just got saved. And so what I wanted to do is I want to take an interview that she does with Allie Beth Stuckey, who is a podcaster, and just give you my reaction to some of the conversations that they have. I normally don't do just straight reaction videos, and so that's why I'm putting this on YouTube. I thought you might find it interesting. And normally I just talk about topics and things that are going on in culture. But this is going to be a full-on reaction video to what's going on here. So here we go. We're going to jump into this interview. And again, please share this with all your friends. Share this with everybody you know. Go download the 418 Revolution app. We want you to be a part of our community where we are growing in God and impacting the world because of it. So let's jump into this thing. First of all, we're going to be looking at, who Kat Von D is just a little bit here. So
bag.
I like that. I like that.
It's very Dracula.
Yes.
But a long time ago, a friend of mine just, kind of dumbed it down because it's very hard to pronounce. It's hard to read. So Kat Von D was a lot easier for people. So it kind of stuck and became a bit of a nickname. And now,
it's worked out. Worked out. Okay, so a lot of people, most people watching know who you are. They know you maybe from LA Inc. Mm-hmm. That's what I originally know you from. Yeah. Watching it on TLC a long time ago. They know you from your makeup line. They know you from your music, lots of things.
No.
Yeah.
They may be surprised that you are on the Relatable podcast with Allie Beth Stuckey. I kind of want to go all the way back.
Sure.
So who is Kat Von D? How were you raised?
Who are you?
I was born in Mexico in 1982, and my parents...
Not that you care. That makes you about 3 years older than me. So, not going to tell you how old that is, but if you can do math, you can figure it out. Kat Von D is 3 years older than moi.
They were missionary Christians. They were both from Argentina, from South America. And so at the time of the birth of me and my siblings, my dad was on a mission.
Okay, so I think this is interesting because we already know that we're going to get into some dark stuff with her, which I'm excited to see what God did there. But I do think it's interesting that she was raised in a Christian home. Like all automatically, like already we're in a crazy thing of like, how do you go from being raised by missionaries to getting into what she got into? And we're going to find out what she got into. But already this is really fascinating that people do this because you see it happen all the time. You see friends, we used to go to church, we used to do this. Maybe they don't go, into the same stuff she did, but why did they drop off from God, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really cool.
In a very tiny pueblito in the middle of nowhere in Mexico called Montemorelos. It's in the state of Nuevo León, which is about 7 hours south of Texas. And he was building clinics in places that just didn't have them. And my dad's a pretty inspiring guy. And so we were born in a literal third world country environment and had no idea. And it was one of the most abundant times in our lives. I remember like the floors in our house were just packed dirt. We had no running water, no electricity, and I remember spending my first memory of my first Christmas was on those dirt floors, opening up like a little homemade present that my parents got us, and it was just an amazing time for me. When I think about those years, it's like they're some of the best years of my childhood, and hopefully I can kind of somehow give something like that to my son in this crazy wonky world we live in now. But so we were brought up obviously with God in our household. My parents were quite strict with that.
Can you relate? Any of y'all relate to that?
I moved to America
strictness?
by the time I was 6
Not
years
everybody.
old in Southern California. And, I talked to my pastor about it now.
I mean, because like I was raised, I wouldn't say in a strict home, but it was legalistic, and only because that was the type of church that we went to. Legalism meaning that it was really based off of what you did, how you dressed, what you wore, what you didn't wear, what you weren't allowed to wear, where you were allowed to go, where you weren't allowed to go. It was really based off of a lot of that. My family's not like that anymore, praise God. But if you've ever been raised in a home like that, that can push you away from the Lord. And so it's possible that's what happened here, but we'll see. We'll see what as we continue. She was talking to her pastor about that. So
now, because I ended up straying. I ended up like being a pretty wild teenager and leaving home at the age of 14, running away and putting my parents through a literal hell that I've made amends for now. But I had a lot of questions as a kid, and I don't think my parents were equipped with the answer.
Look at that. Lots of questions where parents aren't equipped with the answer. This is huge, y'all. This is a huge reason why we have the 418 Revolution app, is because we want you to have answers. Matter of fact, if you want to ask questions, we have a spot for you to send in questions. You can go to the contact us, whatever. But we want you to send in questions because we don't want you to leave the faith because you have questions that go unanswered. Not only that, we want your parents, if you're in a teenage, because this is for teens and young adults, if you have teens, and if you're a teen and you don't have the ability to ask questions and your parents don't have the answers, get them on the app too, right? We want them to learn too. Answers matter. God has answers. That's a big deal. God has answers. So don't just run away. Seek God. Seek it out. There's answers out there.
And so that's like one of the things that as a parent now, that I really want to be able to do with my son when he asks questions. And I don't want to just be like, oh, well, we just believe, or it's just like, that's what faith is. You just got to believe. And it's like, yeah, but I have legit questions, like whether it's, elementary school level of dinosaur questions to like what the resurrection was. And they didn't really have that. So I did go to Bible studies as like a child. Like I remember until my early teens, I had read the Bible twice, but I read it not really like understanding, or I just read words, front to back. And so, sorry if I jump around, you can always stop me.
That's okay.
But I ended up, going astray in a way. Like I think I discovered punk rock music at a very early age, and I don't want to blame that for my decision to like walk away from God. But because in reality, I think that's what actually brought me back to God. But was just this free thinking mentality, is like to question everything, especially authority. Okay,
questioning everything, especially authority. That is a fascinating thing. When you start questioning everything, especially authority, it can be good, but at the same time, where's that coming from? Is it coming from a place of, I see something is actually wrong and we need to fix this? Or is it coming from a place of rebellion? So that matters.
Kind of early teen, because you said you ran away when you were how old? 14?
Yeah.
And so was this right around that time that you kind of started questioning things?
Yeah.
The punk rock world?
Yeah, and I kind of actually like resented it too, because again, I didn't really have certain understandings. I just went to church because that's what you do.
Yeah.
If you look different, then you don't belong here. Like which is not how it should be. And so, so it's not that I went around thinking of...
That's a huge statement. That's a huge statement. That looking different shouldn't be a determination for if you get to fit in as a Christian. Because that's never been what the Word of God teaches. Whether it is, looking different because you're different races, whether it's looking different because you dress different. And I think that's where people are going to get upset, which is sad, is like she's saved, but she's still dressing dark. It's like, well, okay, so like wearing light colored clothes is not your sign of Christianity. So I'm just throwing it out there as a guess of where this is going to be going. But that's part of it anyway. So let's continue.
So it's not that I went around thinking about it, like going like, I'm an atheist or I'm a this or anything. I just didn't care. I was just like, I don't believe in this. I don't like, And then as I got into my 20s, I guess, like, I started looking without knowing into like new age stuff, I guess. I will say this, that like, after I posted my baptism video, I saw like a lot of headlines and things, and I think people like to, especially the media, they like to sensationalize stories and make them a lot more extreme than they really are. Like I was never in a cult. I was never in I was never a witch, like a self-proclaimed witch or anything like that. I was definitely not a Satanist, you know. But I think it kind of reads more enticing when you see like an extremeness of something. Yeah. I know I look and dress like a villain, so it's easy to like be like, oh well, this is an exceptional story, but I don't really have like a testimony that's like, I don't know. I've heard a lot more inspiring testimonies than my own.
Okay, but so I'm going to go ahead and call myself out here because that's what happened with me, right? I haven't even watched this. I'm just literally reacting live to this. And I saw things, heard things about her, assumed that's what it was, and just moved on. And this is the way it is with the media. This is the way it is in the world, is we don't take the time, and I made that mistake right now, not taking the time to go, hey, what's the actual story with her, right? Because of the way she looked. Boom, right there. There it is. And I can call myself out on it. You should be able to call yourself out on stuff. And so she's saying she never said that she was into witchcraft or anything like that. But it's interesting that she gets into New Age, right? Because I think this is a direction that a lot of people go, especially if they've been in Christianity. They still want to be connected with the spirit realm. So then they get into New Age. And people in general want to be connected to the spirit realm. It's what we were made for. We are eternal beings. And so she gets into the New Age. So let's see what else she has to say. All right, we're going to jump forward a little bit.
I got introduced to drugs at that point, but I was functioning. So, like somehow I miraculously like showed up to work every day and I did a great job, Yeah. And then, but behind that was just, this growing addiction. And I did Miami Inc. for as long as I could, as long as I contractually had to, because it was a very miserable experience. And I had signed the contract while I was drunk without a lawyer or anything like that. And I was offered to do Ellie Inc. And so I didn't want to. I just wanted to get away from whatever that whole process was. I wasn't the type of person that was like, I want to be on TV and I want to be famous. I just like loved tattooing and I wanted to be a good representation of the industry that I was in. And, but the people that, I was casted with, we just didn't get along. And so I was like kind of forced to be with people that didn't respect me or whatever. Yeah. So I signed the contract for LA Inc. and opened up my shop in LA, and I had that shop for about 12 years. So, but we filmed the show for another 39 episodes or something like that.
Yeah. And you said at this time, mid-20s, you kind of got into the New Age. You were still an alcoholic at this point, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't like full blown into it, but I was like, I think I was a seeker. So, but nothing. I wasn't really actively pursuing any belief system. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just was sad. I was drinking and I was trying to find answers in the wrong places. And it wasn't until I got sober, it'll be 17 years ago in July, that I, really opened up my eyes to wanting to fix myself. And that's when I started getting into a lot of the New Age stuff, like a lot of self-help books.
Self-help.
That was kind of like the gateway into it.
Like law of attraction type stuff, or not really?
No, I was like into, and I mean, I don't want to obviously like diss any like authors or anything, but just like into meditation, a lot of meditation and
spirit.
Y'all, we getting into it, y'all. We're getting into it. Meditation. This is the thing a lot of Christians get into, trying to blend Eastern practices, Christianity, and they start blending it, and they get into stuff like meditation, because they hear, it's good for you to have peace, it's good for your body, da da da. And I mean, she got into it because she was looking for that. So
yeah, but so yeah, it wasn't like I was like, I'm gonna go sell my soul or anything like that. I honestly like Satan is not on the radar for me. So yeah, when I got sober, I didn't go to AA. I read the Big Book, which I loved, and I still love that book. I feel like I do have notes, but like I think in general, like doing a 12-step for everybody would benefit from doing your inventory and making amends and doing all that stuff. That was very helpful for me. They really talk about having a higher power, and that's the part where I'm like, oh, I feel like you're missing the God part, because they won't like have like they don't ever talk about your higher power can be this cactus in the corner, it can be Ozzy Osbourne or something, it's not. Whereas like for me, I feel like I've been sober for a long time, but I don't feel like I was free from all it until I found God.
Come on,
and
preach.
I feel like
Shut up.
That would be so cool. Whatever. I'm not gonna really diss on the AA program because it helps a lot of people, but so yeah, I think that's when I just started looking into that type of literature, and then I started learning about transcendental meditation, and I was
snap.
like,
oh snap. Transcendental meditation. We're going deeper now. You start one layer, you start going deeper.
It was always these very like short-lived band-aids on a sinking ship, That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
It's like oh, this feels really good, and I'm like so at peace, and I've like been able to like I'd have anxiety at the airport, and I'd go into the bathroom and like say my mantra, and then and I'll be fine. It's like, but it was these crutches,
Right.
So
okay, crutches. Look at it. And they talk about Christianity being a crutch. This is a crutch, right? Because what's happening is we are substituting the real for the counterfeit, and we need to understand this, y'all. We need to understand that this is not the real thing, but it works for a little bit, and that's where the enemy comes in to deceive us. It works for a little bit, and then it's done. And then you got to go and it's not a life-changing, spirit-changing, heart-changing thing.
Now I'm going to fast forward to like the first post that I ever made about talking about like throwing away my occult books.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that everybody kind of honed in, my fans included, on the witchcraft books, because there was a lot more of those than there was the others. But I actually threw away all my meditation books, all my books on yoga, all my like it wasn't just
Whoa. Books on yoga. Look, it's a big thing. It's very touchy, but I know a lot of Christians do yoga and stuff like that, but I get like there is something to it that a lot of people, when they come out of New Age, when they come out of that stuff, when they go and they become Christians, they realize like that yoga is not a part of what we need to be doing as Christians. And why? Because yoga is connected to interacting with spiritual and demonic beings. That's where it came from. That's how it was created. That's what it is. It's not just breathing. It's not just stretching. It was made in order to interact and to receive the demonic and gods, is what they thought it was, into them. So that ain't what we want.
The stuff that people considered spooky, which I don't think some of it is, but and I think that it's easier to look at like a story, like what I wrote, and mind you, I prayed a lot about that post prior to doing it. Like I spent time on writing that caption because I knew the intentions behind it were to like start being able to talk about where I'm at in life,
And that was what, 2020?
Yeah.
Or so?
I think so, yeah. And it was such an... So I posted this post on Instagram where I just took a picture of a good chunk of these books that I took from my library. I have a library of like 300 to 500 books. And so this was a very small, like a small amount of books out of that collection that I just wanted to get rid of. Like I don't want to say that they were haunting me, but it's like I already knew they were there. I have my son who's growing up and is becoming curious, and it's like, you know, there were some art books I threw away too that weren't in that picture that were like, I don't know if I want my kid to look at that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
kids have a way to start changing people. They start getting mature. They start thinking about the future. They start thinking about, you know, what's coming. And this is my thing for you, for 18ers out. It's a lot of you are young, right? So you don't have kids yet. You're not thinking about that. But I would say this: if you can start thinking long term right now, like, what am I going to marry this person and have kids with this person? Am I going to date this person if I'm not going to marry this person? I'm not saying you have to marry everybody that you date, obviously. But if that's not the goal, is to see, are they a potential spouse, then why am I dating them? If it's just like, oh, we're just going to have a good time. Well, okay, but then where does that lead to? Where are we going? If I'm going to get into this thing, how's it going to affect me down the road? So kids change stuff. And let's do what needs to be done before, and think that way before we even get to the kids part. So we're not trying to change things once we have kids.
but to me, it was like I came to this really awesome realization that night that I decided to post that, was that like I don't want these crutches in my life anymore. You know, and that's what I really saw them as, is like, okay, like I just want Jesus, and it's a very narrow.
Come on, I felt the Holy Spirit
road,
when she
right?
said
Like
that.
I feel
It's a
like
narrow
all these
road.
other, like these breathing techniques, or these or like spell work, or whatever,
Preach.
nature worship, all these things. It's like they're just
Sister
crutches.
Von
They're not
D.
really like
Come on.
my answer.
Yeah.
And so for me, I would rather eliminate any.
Y'all, if I didn't have all this stuff, I get up and shout. They're not my answer. They're not my answer. Jesus is the answer. Y'all, come on. This is why I love seeing people who are out here in the world doing it, and they come to Jesus like, this is what the people need to see. With all the craziness in the world, they need to see this right here.
Distractions, and this is just for what works for me, you know. So that was like, it was a symbolic gesture, I guess, in a way, but it was my
Symbolic
first
gestures
like
matter.
proclaiming of where I stand with certain things, and it was
Proclaiming where you stand with certain things, y'all. Sometimes you got to make a stand. This is what I believe. This is who I am. I follow Jesus, and because I follow Jesus, I don't do that. I don't let this into my life. I don't, and because I follow Jesus, this is what I do. This is how I act. This is who I am. Kat Von D preaching over here.
It's crazy to watch the reaction, because in the comments it was like I feel like you could see literal demons hissing at each other. And it was coming from both sides, you know, from people that were like, oh, I don't think Aleister Crowley's evil, or hey, like, why would you throw this away? You should give them to people, like that's so wasteful, or whatever, or there's nothing wrong with what I see in these pictures.
That's so wasteful. Like, oh my goodness. People are too much. People do too much. That's so wasteful. You ain't ever thrown, oh, let's take all the little random wrapping papers and give them to somebody. Let's take all. Go boy.
Action, because in the comments it was like I feel like you could see literal demons hissing at each other. And it was coming from both sides, you know, from people that were like, oh, I don't think Aleister Crowley's evil, or hey, like, why would you throw this away? You should give them to people, like that's so wasteful, or whatever, or there's nothing wrong with what I see in these pictures. And then there would be the Christians that are like attacking and kind of saying equally as evil things too, you know, that weren't helping anybody. And
that they're not helping anybody, right? Like, your opinion doesn't always need to be stated, and how you state your opinion matters. You yelling at somebody because they're not doing the Christian thing when they're not even a Christian is not helping them become a Christian, y'all. Come on, the comments matter. Preach, Kat Von D.
That night, I feel two people came to my house. So at the time we lived in LA and we had a gated house, and I was upstairs with my son and the doorbell rang and we had like a security system, and my husband looks and it was, he screenshotted it, and it was just this possessed person, who just was like, hi, I don't want to freak you out, but I just want to know if I could please have those books, I really need those books. I need those books. And it was just like, and you could see the darkness in this eye, and why I think, like when I say things, I definitely think that people over
spiritualize.
No, I just think a lot of people, especially in the Christian community, like call everything demonic, and I don't think everything is demonic.
Right.
But in this,
that's true. We can do that, right? It's like, you got a flat tire. It was the devil. Your food burnt while you were at lunch, and you heat up the microwave. It was the devil not wanting you to eat, so you could be like, it's not always the devil, y'all.
This case, I was like, I think this is a definition of a demon. Like, this person is possessed and is no longer in control of what they would normally do, because they're obsessed either with fame or with the desire to bring certain evils into your life. I think that's crazy. My husband ushered him away. Then the second person came and they tried to break into our trash cans.
Wow.
Which I had already thrown. Huh?
To get the books.
Yeah. Which were all readily available online anyway. I mean, I did have like first editions of stuff, but it's like, what is it in you that's like so desperate for, again, trying to find these answers in the wrong places, a little trash can.
Yeah.
And it kind of was like a very like sobering moment for me, because I was like, man, like this, I don't want to have anything to do with this, anymore.
So in 2020, when you posted that, you said that you saw those as crutches and all you wanted was Jesus. So at that point, you were a Christian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when did that happen?
Probably like a year before that.
A year before that. So let's talk about that a little bit. How did you become a Christian out of the world of just kind of spiritualism?
Okay, so she was a Christian and still doing the spiritualist and New Age stuff. But then she made a definitive statement. All I want is Jesus. Sha-ta-da-da-da-da-bo. I was speaking in tongues. I wasn't really, but that's... Anyway.
Funny enough, I kind of blame my husband, or give him the credit. It was during, like, right before, right when the lockdowns happened, I came downstairs and he just said, hey, babe, I think we got it wrong. I think we got a lot of things wrong. Wow. And I was like, no, and I was never like a politically charged person. I would say like ignorant political things, just out of like, because I don't watch TV. I don't like really know. I mean, I would see like whatever my friends would post or things like that, but I was never like, I couldn't tell you who's in office or anything like that, at the time. And then, so my husband was like, hey, like, I want to show you some stuff, and like it would be some articles and some videos and stuff. And I was like, oh man, like I really got to start rethinking a lot of things that I thought were true,
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first step into questioning everything I had been doing.
Yeah. Was it mostly, we don't have to get into the details on this, but like the stuff that he was showing you, because you said it was around the lockdowns.
Yeah.
Was it mostly regarding that kind of thing, or was it more theological in nature, the things that he was talking about?
No, it was like revolving more around like political things. And you have to understand at that time, like BLM was going hard and in LA, and I was in the middle of it. Like I lived 3 doors down from the mayor of LA, so we had Antifa like on our front yard, after they threatened to like do the Molotov cocktails and stuff like that. And like, so we were just like seeing things in real time, and they were much worse in real life than I think what people even put on TV. And so I was like, man, maybe like, so I started just kind of like reevaluating, kind of going down the list of what I'm doing with my life and like what my perspectives are. And then it got to the part of like my spirituality. And that's where I started really rethinking a lot of things. And so I think a friend had sent me a sermon from Pastor Jack Hibbs, and I loved it. Like it really spoke to me, and like it answered a lot of questions that I had. And so then
answered a lot of questions.
My son at the time was like still a baby, so I wasn't going to church, but we would watch like sermons every Sunday. And so that was kind of like, I just desired more and more and more. And so I just started studying the Bible.
This is when the Bible says that no one can come to Jesus except for the Father draws them. So God, I mean, it's not going to be this for everybody. I'm not saying politics leads to Christianity, but God used politics to open the door. And then somebody sent her a sermon. And then she got hungry for it. And the Holy Spirit, the Father, through the Holy Spirit is calling her. And so your friends that don't know Jesus, like, don't be afraid to share this kind of stuff with them. Don't be afraid to share posts that you think may help them and encourage them, that are Bible verses and things like that. Like, you may be like, no, they're not gonna care. But you don't know, they're hungry for Jesus. People are hungry for Jesus. Man, I love this.
And it was like, I think it was it's so cool to be able to do it as an adult, you know? I think like I was very lucky that I had parents that were Christian and enforced certain things at a time when I couldn't understand things, even though it wasn't as effective. Like, I do credit my dad for everything, because I remember finding myself in very dark moments, and like intuitively I was praying. Yeah. You know, and it wasn't because my dad made me. Like, it was because because he'd been waiting. That's all, you know? And so like when you can fall in love and learn as an adult, it's so much more meaningful and real than it is when you're a child just doing it because this is what we do.
Yes. And I want to clarify something. She says an adult, but I think what she's saying is when it's your own choice, when it's something that you understand, when it's not just your parents' faith, it's not just what they did, and because they did it, you have to do it. When it's actually your choice, man, there's something to it. It's like going to loving somebody, right? When it's your choice, it's more special.
You know, and this is how we do it, you know? So I mean, I'm on fire for Jesus. Like I don't plan on this dimming out. Like, the more and more I learn, the more and more excited I get about things, and the more at ease I am about what's happening in this world and what's happening, in my marriage or in, you know, in all of it. So I do want to go back though to like the occult stuff, because, I don't even want to say occult stuff, but like, you know, just like the tarot cards and all that stuff. Like,
just calling it out.
You know, not to diss any of my friends, because I have a lot of friends that are into that stuff and I love them so much, you know. I have actually more.
Can we just take that in, that we can love people that believe differently than we do? We can love people that aren't the same. It doesn't mean you have to agree. Doesn't mean you have to say, yeah, that's right too. But you can love people. Jesus loved people. God loved people who were not following him, who don't follow him. He loves them, and we can too.
Empathy and understanding than I think an average person, because I've been there. But I will say that my husband and I, we look at the Rolodex of friends that we have, and the ones that are dictating their life through that, and they're making life decisions through tarot or through you know, some of the witchcraft stuff, like even the meditation stuff, or like, you know, and I'm going to definitely offend a lot of people, but like the ayahuasca trips or the meditation camps and silent retreats, all the things that I used to do, except I never did ayahuasca, but like they're all so miserable.
The people are miserable.
And like, they're the most broke people. Usually most of them are single. They don't have stability. And I'm talking about like both financial and like the love around them.
Right.
There's always this drama and dread and doom and gloom. And
because you invited in. You invited into your life. Oh. So I just realized that my microphone wasn't on this whole time. And I'm not about to redo all that. So the sound's about to change, y'all. It's about to get better. Pray for me.
You know? And it's like, that's one thing that I would look around at my Christian friends and I'm like, they're not perfect by any means.
Nope. Yeah.
But I want what you have. Yeah. You know, like I love the light.
That's what we need to be living like, right? We're not perfect, but we're going after Jesus. And there's a peace that we have. There's a joy that we have. There's a light that we have, and people want it. Whew. Come on. I love this. I'm having more fun than y'all probably are. Share this with somebody.
That you have. And it's like, so, you know, we're like, let's not be dummies anymore. And let's just like figure out what this obviously hasn't worked for us, you know, let's like explore this. And so that's kind of like my whole perspective on it. I think, again, like I have no intentions of cutting off my friends that I don't necessarily agree with or, you know, don't see things the same way. I don't think Jesus would either. And so it's like, because I got a lot of criticism after I posted that baptism video. And I think that like Christians, you know, when you do that, you don't realize how much harm you're doing. You know, like I would look at a lot of the comments that I got, and they were really cruel and very, very annoyingly holier than thou. And I would look at some of them and say, okay, let's look at like what is to be gained from this comment. Like, who does it help? Like, to be a know-it-all. Like, who does it help? Does it help me? Does it help all my other followers following? And like witnessing the judgment and the criticism and definitely of not knowing the other person. You know, like everyone's like, oh, well, she's a baby Christian. You don't know. You should cut her some slack. It's like, I'm not a baby Christian. I mean, I just recently got baptized, but like, I'm not like, this didn't happen yesterday. Like I have an understanding of a lot of the things that people are talking about. Like I'm not going to dress like how you think I'm going to dress. Like nothing's changing in that department. Like even like with like the you know, the music that I make or some of the content that I make, it's like, it's not for you, you know, it's not for you. You have no idea how many DMs that I got from like other goth kids that are in the same boat as I was. They're going, man, I'm at this crossroad and I want to go back to church, but like,
come on,
I don't have a church to go to, or I feel like even within my own family unit, people have like, I'm an outcast and I'm trying to make my way back to Jesus, but like these people, you know, like thank you for doing that, you know, and it's like, so
man, don't make it hard for people. Don't, as the Bible calls it, a stumbling block. Don't put a stumbling block, something that people trip over trying to get to Jesus, right? You're like, well, you don't look like this. You don't dress like this. You don't talk like this. Don't put that in front of people because they're trying to get to Jesus. Just let them come to Jesus. Jesus will take care of all that mess. He'll take care of the mess. And what you think is a mess might not even be a mess. Come on.
I don't have any intention on like conforming to what somebody's like uniform or what their idea of darkness is, you know, because I don't think I'm a dark person. I wear dark clothes, but like I like people's like definition of darkness is a lot different, you know, like what's dark to you might not be to me. Like I'm not scared of death. Like I talk about it all the time. My entire career was based on that. You know, I tattooed portraits of dead people on their loved ones for decades. And like, so I've read every grieving book. I've read every bereavement book. I've read like, you know, I think death is something that like we should be able to talk about. And, you know, when I see a skull, I don't think like, oh, that's demonic. it's just not for me. But if it triggers you spiritually, then keep scrolling, you know, like, or don't listen to my music or whatever it is. But I think that like the amount of like critical Christians on my Instagram now have become such a turnoff to people who are actually seeking God that like I had to just block and delete. Like even if it's good stuff, I just like, if people talk about, this is not for you, you know? And it's like you end up pushing people away. And like the one person that I think about through all this is my husband, you know, because when we got together, we were both not Christian, you know, we got married, and then he's really helped me without knowing find my way. And he's not necessarily on the same page. I mean, in some ways he is. You know, he's very supportive. We go to church together. You know, every Sunday. He always supports me. We pray together. But there's parts of him that's still questioning. And like after that, getting so much grief from people that spilled over into my husband, he was like, I remember the next morning he was like, babe, I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah. You know, and it like, I'm trying not to get emotional because it's like, I've been working for years.
Y'all. Why? Why would we put... What's to gain by doing that? And it creates that for them. So I'm not going to go any deeper. You can watch the rest of it. But I think there was so much good stuff here. You can go watch Kat Von D on Becoming a Christian with Allie Beth Stuckey. You can watch it. And some of it's going to be opinion. Some of it's going to be, you know, different things like that. I know. I think they talk a little about like different types of churches and how their music goes and stuff like that. And there's opinions there and whatnot. And, you know, there's not like a right thing going on there. But man, I just want to say this. She came to Jesus because God was calling her. And the thing that is hurting her husband coming to Jesus is the people who God loves and called and have said yes to Jesus, acting in a way that Jesus never wanted them to act. So let's not be those people. Let your youth group, let your young adults group, let your church be a place where people can walk in who don't know Jesus, who look different, sound different, talk different, and you say, we love you, you're welcome here, and lead them right to the foot of Jesus, to the cross. And then Jesus finds them, and Jesus helps them, and we help them navigate their relationship with God, and it may not look like yours. So y'all, you know what I got to give this? I got to give this a smart, not just a smart, but a wonderful and awesome and incredible. I love what God is doing in Kat Von D's life. And I just love getting to watch this. There was so much that I took from it, and I just loved it. So hopefully you did too. Please share the 418 Revolution app with somebody. Share this with them. Tell them, hey, go watch this interview or this reaction video. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the 418 Revolution app. Download it. We got some big things coming here pretty soon. Super pumped about it. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you